Welcome back to our any percent no major glitches Death Store tournament. In today's match, we have Museus versus Kipoints. I'm your host, Pudding Boxes, and joining me in the commentary booth, we have Shresh. We're going to say hi, Shresh.
Hey everyone, welcome back.
And we have Quacksilver.
Hello, very excited to be here for Winner's Quarters.
And then we have, and our runners, you want to say hi? Key, you want to say hi?
Yeah, I prefer the Holy Basher of Toads, not frogs. Nice to meet you.
Museus?
Hello.
Okay. All right. Let's get the show on the road then. Are you both one click away from starting the game?
I am now.
Yep.
Okay, so on my countdown, so on go. So I'm gonna start. 3, 2, 1, go. Good luck, runners.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck to both our runners, both setting off. Very close to in sync.
I am very, very hyped for this race. So the tournament to date, in case you haven't been following along, which you very much should be, has proceeded exactly according to seeds. Shout out to the seeding team for this tournament, Pudding and Museus, I presume. But this is the 4 and 5 seed, so if we're gonna see some upsets happen, this is as close as we can possibly get. And I know Key in particular has been on the warpath, already gotten a race PB, looking to hop up the leaderboards as this tournament goes on for sure.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Battle of the Verifiers. Museus also a bit of a dark horse. We haven't seen much of his prep. He has been in the hyperbolic time chamber, so-called. We don't know what prep he has done and will be showing us here today. Of course, Museus, one of the old hands of the game, has excellent time, but it was from a long time ago. Key, like Quack said, has a much more recent PB, so we'll see how all that plays out. Key did win the race to the fast tour, so that of course means that he's going to win, you know.
Gotta get the good omens in where you can. I'm curious, Tresh, where do you think we will see the first major divergence or pain point between these two runners? Because I anticipate, regardless of when you got your practice in the early game, probably through Estate at least, certainly through Guardian of the Door at least, is going to be pretty well rehearsed for both of these runners. So I'm curious where we might start to see someone pull ahead.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. We could definitely see stuff go differently for the two runners, even in the early game, depending on how much they're warmed up and how ready they're feeling. It's the first run of the day for both of them, I imagine. It's pretty early in the day. So we could see some problems there as well, but going forward, Manor is always a tough section for anyone, and in a no reset situation, you don't really have much choice. It has a bunch of tough splits back to back. Could see some separation as early as that. And yeah, this game is just so variable depending on just a split second or one decision going wrong. So you just have to keep your eyes peeled constantly. Make sure you play clean. Both runners going through the mini arenas. We do see both of them go take out the imp on the left side first to aggro the grunt. Museus just flying through, I think a sub 240, just about key pickup. Same for Key. Saying Key and Key, if you know what I mean, in the same sentence is going to become confusing, but bear with us. Arena 1, this could be one initial point where we may see some differences in their strategies. Haven't seen much from Museus, like I mentioned, so don't know how many of the new strats he does.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the arena strats, alongside the puzzle strats in some of the later areas of the game, there's been a flurry of recent updates to them in particular as people have hit the lab, taking advantage of the debug tools, so perhaps an interesting generational battle on our stage today, like you said at the top of the race, Shresh.
He having a bunch of trouble with backpacks in the last two waves. So he does exit here about 5 seconds behind, but 5 seconds is not much. But yeah, we do see some very early separation from the first arena itself, just going a little bit wrong for Key there, and going pretty smooth for Museus. So, but going into Arena 2 and Guardian, it can all change and flip back.
And just to call out, since we've seen it in a couple of text boxes now, I just love the distinction. Key playing on Chinese and Museus remaining on English. There is technically a difference in speed between the languages, but chatting before the race, it is on the order of 6 text boxes total. So Key essentially angle shooting to make up that time lost to Arena 1, and I love it.
You'll love to see it. That is one of the things which, like you mentioned, became suddenly prevalent right before the tournament. Just in the scrims that runners were doing to prepare for this tournament, just trying to take advantage of every little time save. We've had a few runners have PBs of very, very small amounts, or miss PBs by very small amounts, like Key, TFT, as well, missing a PB by a very small amount. So their switching over forced everyone to switch.
Yeah,
Arena
especially in
1.
a race setting. You take every single time save you possibly can. And that last imp giving both runners some trouble there in that middle wave in the arena.
That is a bit of a bully. Let's see how Key gets the deflects. Clean. Onto the penultimate wave. Museus was 529 at the lever, so it looks like Key is maintaining some separation still of like 7 to 8 seconds, I imagine. Yeah, looks like 8 or 9 seconds. Still very close, but Museus having a better time of the early game. Also has full health going into this Guardian fight.
Yeah, and Guardian is a fairly oft-practiced fight, but because of the nature of the strat for the fight where you lodge yourself behind the castle, if things go wrong, they can very much cascade.
Museus doing some interesting things where he went for the extra heavy in the first phase, got stuck on the right side and ended up taking a couple of damage. Looks like a 614 Guardian kill. Key much cleaner, rolling through the laser, not getting hit, just gonna clean it up right here. It does make up a little bit of the gap there, but these are fine margins here. Both runners have taken a hit, so we probably will see some form of save and quit, whether they will be going for pothead skip soul or a save and quit within crypts, we shall see. Museus has mentioned that he has trouble with pothead skip, where he's been having to do it multiple times. So let's see what strategies these runners employ here.
So as we get both of these runners to the first major cutscene in the run, as we interact with the Grey Crow here, looking at the bracket history of these folks, or the bracket future of these runners, I believe since we got 4 and 5, winner of this will advance to play Vareem. As we wind down towards the end of the tournament here. I know in the very early history of the game, Museus went back and forth with Vareem a little bit, as they helped to push the time down alongside TFT at the very beginning of the game. Do you think that either of these runners is going to make it to Grands or to the podium? Like, what's the threat level to our tournament's favorite as we get on into Crypts and then Estate here?
With Vareem, it's one of those things that he is always your favorite because he's very consistent. Besides being fast, he is very, very consistently fast. So that makes him such a scary prospect to go up against. I don't think either runner will be relishing that prospect. Right now, they're focused on this race, but if they do think about that race, they know that's going to be a tough fight. I don't think either of them can be comfortable going into that. But it's an interesting point you bring up. Museus and Vareem have long history from the Hades time as well. They've done a few such race events in Hades, hyper delivery and stuff like that. If for folks who have been around in that community, so that's a tasty potential matchup. Key as well as current 4th seed, I believe, and 3rd on the leaderboard as it stands right now, is a really, really fast runner as well. So either of those matchups is going to be super, super exciting.
Yeah, a lot on the line here, and it looks like neither runner opted for the save quit and crypt, so I am assuming that means we're getting double pot head skip and the soul from both of them.
Looks to be the case. So that could be another point of separation depending on how clean the runners get pothead skip, because messing up pothead skip can lose an inordinate amount of time. Just falling off once can make you lose 5 seconds if you actually get up on the hedge and kind of make your way towards the arenas and then fall off. It's much worse. It's like 10 seconds or more. So we'll be looking for clean execution here.
Alright, Museus gets the 1 with no trouble.
1 out of 1. It's nice that the runners are staggered so we can actually pay attention to their skips one by one.
Yeah, actually perfect timing. Key's good on number 1. Alright, Museus looking pretty clean. Before the races, Museus was talking about like, yeah, I'm super rusty, I only started practicing 2 days ago. Perhaps a psychological edge.
Yeah, don't take it at face value. Museus is a very, very tough competitor. He is a veteran of many games, not just this one. Like you mentioned, he was the original. He's part of the original group, I guess, not solo there, but along with Vareem and Lat, setting the initial NMG times. Before that, this game was much more focused on glitch runs. Little bit of a time on the right side, trying to get rid of both mages for Museus. Let's see how Key fares. Got hit once early on in the first mini arena. Nice deflect. Will he get the kill before the mage despawns? Does. Nicely done. Let's say about even there. Key might be having a slight bit of advantage in the dealing with right side of estate. Right side estate is a little bit of somewhat of an RNG. You do if you handle it well, you can minimize the effects and mitigate like any sort of issues that can arise from that RNG, but there is still definitely an aspect that it can really mess with you just because of RNG. He only has the 1 hit here, so we'll be hoping for some favorable spawns to give him some mana. The grunt being there really helps.
Yeah, now just have to manage all the extra enemies on the back end here, it looks like. But able to get through the fire puzzle there on left side estate without too much trouble.
Both runners have the 1000 souls, so they don't really need to kill anything more. After this, it's just for farming mana, or if stuff is in your way.
Yeah, and a lot of grunts interfering with Key there. Museus still has them hot on his tail, but pretty clean entrance into Manor here.
Yeah, this is a scorcher of a time. It's going to be a 12-2x, which is as good as you can want in a race, to be honest. Ideally, I'm sure Museus has had much better times, but just getting there under the 12:30 mark.
29 is still 2x.
He maintaining, I believe, pretty much the same separation that we've had all along, 10 seconds or so. The runner's keeping it even.
Yeah, and this is where this is the first place I would have predicted to start seeing some major splits, because the especially the back-to-back whammy of Imploft and the later arenas in this section of the game can just be absolutely brutal.
Definitely, mana is something that you have to be very consistent and execute properly, because you can never depend on your opponent messing up. It is fairly consistent if you, in the ideal situation, to get through it very fast. That's kind of what you're aiming for. And after many runs, I'm assuming both these runners are expecting that to happen. But if something goes wrong just a little bit, it can suddenly go really wrong. Like you mentioned, in Crows 2 and 3, they're back-to-back, no save and quits. You have to keep an eye on your health, on your strategy. And you also have to walk across narrow platforms and not fall off. So a bunch of stuff to keep in mind.
Yeah, and both runners opting for, if not the single, certainly one of the most accessible safety seeds in the game.
Very sensible. That one, like you said, is an easy choice. We will see, I imagine, both of them take the seed in the next split as well, but the seed situation, definitely something to keep an eye out. Thankfully, with the layout fix, shoutouts to Museus, we can actually see the seeds and be able to tell and keep you updated. Museus did get the light first try. Key is a little far away.
Yeah, having a little bit more of a struggle.
Looks like it hit the side web there.
That's always so disheartening. To hear the sound effect play and not get the actual camera movement.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those unfortunate moments. So, like we were talking about, just small things like that will mean that Key will be behind a little bit coming out of this split, because Museus had pretty much perfect execution mostly through that split. Good fight as well. But it won't be too much of a time loss. He just had to roll back and forth the one time. So not a big deal. Yeah, looks like still around 12 seconds. So did not make too much of a difference. Now this is the split. Definitely to keep an eye out. Museus not grouping up the enemies so much, just trying to deal with them one by one. Gets through it very fast though. I like the strat of hitting the green part in the first wave. Very interesting.
Yeah, and Key going with a strat that, as I understand it, is more conventional, of head to the back and get everyone. See how many enemies you can hit with a single heavy.
Yep, just rolling around. It's fun. Museus gets hit here once, but does have the big pot in a very good position, doing a lot of damage. Very, very quick kill. Almost before it even finished its first spin. That was so quick.
Yeah, excellent waltz, and it looks like...
Oh, Key is doing upper casserole strats. Does not fully get it, but
still fairly fast, both of them carrying 3 health into Imploft. 3 is probably the lowest acceptable health you want to carry into Imploft.
oh, that last arrow doing a bit of trolling here with Museus. He is having to light a lot more braziers than he would have wanted to.
Oh
Does not
yeah,
get the
missing the
last.
staircase. This is why we carry 3 health into this area.
Let's see if we see heal here from Museus. Yes, both of the runners down to 1 health. Probably both of them going to use their solo seed here. My goodness, Imploft.
Wow. Trying its hardest to ruin some days.
I believe Key will have made up some time here. He did have a cleaner Imploft. Museus had a really torrid time through that. Yeah, I believe Key's narrowed down a bit.
He in chat. I love it. I love when the runners take the moment.
You love to see when that happens. Since both runners did have bad Impla, something to keep an eye out for in later splits is whether they will choose to skip Spider Lair. That does seem to be an evolving and somewhat new meta. If you do have a bad Imploft, which normally would be in a reset, but in a race situation you can kind of capitalize on that and choose to skip Spider Lair and all the souls that you need to gather from there. So let's see how it works out. Very, very nice lineup for the grunts there. Really worked out for him. Museus had slightly slower time through the... Gets hit once, does Museus. And Key.
Yeah, this arena is just a lot to manage. Especially if you allow a second wave of grunts to start spawning in, the amount of on-the-fly adjustment you have to do can get a little intense. Both of them making it through. It looks like Museus killed an extra single grunt, but the full second wave did not spawn in before he finished off the Lickitung.
You can see how just that little difference makes a big difference on the timer, because they're now within 3 seconds of each other. Just off that last split, which is just shows you the arenas and the combat. Optimizing those and actually executing on that is a big focus point for speedrunners, because you do end up saving and losing a lot of time. Museus going for his new strats, diagram strats here. He going for the more traditional route.
Yeah, it looks like Museus second guessing a couple actions there, took a couple additional arrows, but the diagram still looking okay. Gonna lose a couple of seconds to Key there. It looks like Key has pulled ahead into the lead on loadless time here.
Yep, just off that puzzle, Museus, like you said, did not execute accurately on the diagram, I believe. He went a couple of different directions, possibly was a little confused as to how the diagram goes exactly. It is a newer strat, and Museus is the progenitor again, as of most of the diagram strats. He's a very clever speedrunner, likes to come up with new strategies. Both runners here are actually very innovative in their time in this community and in other communities as well. Let's see how they deal with the mages. Key takes some time to kill off one of the mages, so we'll be able to clean up the other here. Museus as well, able to clean it up within one wave, so they should be pretty even here.
Yeah, wow, neck and neck on the timer going into Avarice 1. So once again, a little bit behind the scenes, Museus literally in the moment or two before we went live with today's events, Museus was like, oh shoot, the Avarices. Didn't practice them at all, they're so sketchy. And Key replied with, yeah, I've practiced the Avarices a lot, they're always sketchy. So both runners with the appropriate level of confidence for these kill arenas.
Both runners will probably agree that off the Avarice is Avarice 1, the hardest one to do fast, to get all the strats down and to get the enemies to actually group up the way you want them. Some would argue spiders cause a bunch of RNG in Evo 2, and that is true, but this arena can definitely mess you up, derail your run, or go really, really smoothly and then be a back burner for the rest of the run. So let's see how it goes. They are completely in sync, pretty much, on the timer. Makes it very exciting. Key missing one deflect there. Interesting to note some differences in the strategies between both runners in the first wave itself. Museus going for a lot of heavies and not so many arrows to start off. Second wave is fairly standard. Both runners just want to get rid of the purple pots on spawn.
Yeah, anything you can do to keep enemies in general in Avarice from running off into the darkness, especially for newer runners, a big pain point you see is letting enemies just go off camera, and then it becomes an absolute burden to hunt them down, and you wind up taking a ton of extra damage. Onto wave 4 here. Runners have to juggle a lot in this wave, but it seems like fairly clean progress. Museus may be getting a little bit more bullied by the spinning pots.
It's in a bad spot here. He has a bunch of enemies around that he didn't really want. So having to play it slow now a little bit. Gets through it. Key showing us kind of a masterclass of how you want to deal with that last wave. So we'll be pulling ahead just almost pretty much entirely off that last wave. That kind of is the encapsulation of this Avarice. That last wave decides how slow or fast you're going to get through it. So good job on Key, getting through it pretty much as fast as he can, and Museus slightly slower, but still keeping good pace. Very exciting race, and we've already seen the lead flip a couple of times. I'm sure we'll see it again.
Looking like Key about 5 seconds ahead, loadless coming out of 1. That is absolutely something that a handful of spiders can say no to in Mushroom Dungeon.
Speaking of spiders, decision time for Key right here. Will he go right or left? Takes
Checking
a
the
look
souls
and
there.
goes right. No spider lair for Key. No spider lair for Museus, so they are going to be in sync. Don't need to worry about them being desynced till after Ava 2. But this does mean that both of them will be picking up a couple of extra soul orbs after Ava 2 in the Hall of Doors. There are 3, we usually pick up just one of them. The runners will both be picking up all 3. But for now, let's see if they do the requisite clapping.
It is the moral standard which we hold all Death's Door runners to. Yeah. Clap for leg day.
Like, they does have one of the harder jobs in this game. Going up and down in that gondola pretty much constantly, I imagine. I don't know how much traffic there is, but we use them once. In all soul orbs, you do get to use them the other time, but that's pretty much the only category I know that uses leg day more than once. But it is nice to see them every run. As with all NPCs in this game, very charming design, just cool characters.
Yeah, shout outs to Acid Nerve. If you're not familiar, as we get started in Ruins here, if you're not familiar, the Death's Door community is having an anniversary Q&A with some of the developers of the game in a little bit. So if you're not a member of the Death's Door Discord, you should be, because there's some cool stuff coming up in the very near future. And so as we get into Ruins, the question is, how many grunts are walking into bombs today? How effective are the baits?
And both runners will want to kill more grunts here since they have skipped Spider Lair. They do want to be kind of at a 845 or more. Key is a couple souls short. Museus is a couple ahead, so Museus not going to be very bothered. Key might want to kill a few more grunts. That being said, one more thing to note is Key did pick up the safety seed near the malformed seed at the beginning of Ruins, while Museus did not, so he is 1 up on seeds here. Smart choice, just in case you need something for Ruins itself. First try.
First try Momskip is always a good sign for confidence, if nothing else. Museus also taking that lever there.
He has mentioned it from calming previous runs and seeing runners die at the end of Ruins. He had mentioned that if he takes a hit before the Kronk, he will take the Kronk. So executing on that plan, I guess, seems fair. It doesn't lose much time, and dying in Ruins is a huge time loss. We have seen it a couple of times in this tournament already. It's not highly likely to happen, but better to be prepared, I guess.
Yeah, the geometry of Ruins is very unforgiving, especially if you turn your nose up at all the safeties, so understandable safety choice. Fortunately, these arenas seem to be going okay. Key in particular had a very good pre-turn cam arena.
Yeah, Key executed pretty much all the fast strats cleanly, gets that extra grunt kill that he needed right there. Now he should be very set.
Coming up in just a moment on, I think, a lot of runners' favorite arena in the game.
For good reason.
Yeah, it's just so fun to watch.
Key going into it now. He has adapted it from the last time where he is getting both halves of the wave together. Last race, War did commentate that it seems that Key does that, so I think Key took that to heart. Has been another thing that we have seen the runners adapting race to race based on comms, which has been very interesting to see.
It helps when, the entire top 3, top 5 in both glitched and NMG categories are the spate of comms. Like, it's a pretty good learning opportunity.
It is very true. I personally can attest to that. It was a free speedrun review from Vareem, my race yesterday. I learned a bunch. Vareem and Up were both on the comms yesterday, and they are, like you said, number 1 and number 5, I believe now. So as good as you can get, honestly. It's a pretty tight-knit community, so it's nice to see everyone coming out and showing support.
Yeah, and much like the Hades community before it, the frequency and speed of speedrun reviews in the Death Door community, as we move to the smooth jazz section of the run, is just mind-bogglingly cool. And the fact that we have, world record holders on the mic for events like this, dispensing wisdom at will and for free, is very cool. Yeah, we got some good saxophones in the chat.
Love to see it. So yeah, the script has flipped a bit. Museus about 10 seconds behind on that quit out, if I calculated correctly. But going into dungeon after these upgrades, everything can flip again. There are a bunch of safeties here, which I imagined both runners will avoid. They are slow, but things to think about here, lots of decisions to be made, and very demanding gauntlet of crows. There are no ideal heals or save quits, really. You do lose time doing anything. The only ideal way to get through is hitless, really. So Key already missing out. Oh no, and that mage getting away can be really problematic because it spawns behind that gate, like Key is shooting through, and you lose a bunch of time.
Yeah, that's probably all the 10 seconds right there.
Yep.
Yeah, basically, timer's even again. And Key's starting off at 3 health. Mushroom Dungeon is considerably more linear, and Key out of pips too.
Oh no. The start beyond losing time can also be playing on Key's mind, so something to keep an eye out. You really want dungeon to go smoothly. It is a taxing section. Museus gets hit the one time. Wasn't able to bait out the bomb plant, I guess. You do want the bomb plant to kill those grunts. I guess that didn't work. If you sometimes do miss the arrow. Little bit of spider trolling on both sides. My
Spiders
goodness.
are so mean in this game. There's a ton of arachnophobes in game dev, is what I have learned from playing video games over the past couple of years.
Pretty much every single game. They have mean spiders. Key, despite the early troubles, I think is leaving this arena slightly ahead again. Make up.
Handful of seconds.
Museus coming off slightly worse there. This skip can again be a bit troubling. It is very tight. Both get it first try. Love to see that happen.
Alright, and Key there at the start of the arena, and I imagine Museus as well, demonstrating, the optimal way to take down a Hammer Bro. Hammer Bros have the distinction of going from easily the worst enemy for casual and new runners of the game, certainly worst enemy inside Mushroom Dungeon, and then as you learn more and more strats, that honor gets shifted to the spiders, just because of their jumping patterns.
Museus had 1 health, so having to play this very safely. It's interesting you mentioned the Hammer Bro because we saw it in this crow split, and we'll probably see it in a subsequent one as well. The runners did opt for slightly different strats, and again, this is from the plethora of strats that have just cropped up recently. The new meta being that you do want to kind of strike the Hammer Bro from the side, so positioning at the initial spawn is important. Key is trying that right there. You want your initial heavy to hit it from the side so that it not just breaks the shield, but it also does damage to it. Museus, by the way, notice has to take a save and quit because he didn't have any seeds at that crow too. Oh no, has to go all the way around here now. Crow 2 is the most convenient crow to heal at normally, but if you don't have any seeds, there's not much you can do about it. Really unfortunate. I wonder if he
Yeah.
broke the shortcut. He should have maybe gone around, but didn't trust himself to go around and break that bomb wall shortcut, I guess.
Yeah.
Going down this staircase alone with those plants can be scary.
Possibly race nerves, possibly just going extra safe and trusting the late game to carry it up, but this is the first major lead, beyond the order of 10 seconds that we have seen all race, as Museus is on wave 2 of this third crow as Key is walking away. And Key also gonna take a safety heal with that extra seed that he grabbed earlier.
Seed strategy coming into play here. Museus running short. I guess he didn't have an eye on it, and we didn't notice him pick up the seed in the Avarice storeroom again on the way here. So he still has 0 seeds, but it's fine, I guess. He trusted himself to get through this crow with full health and be able to tackle the next split with full health as well. So both runners going to be heading into Water Arena. Let's see how Key handles it. Oh, nice. Gets a lucky deflect to be able to finish it off in 3 cycles. He did miss the one hit there. Could have been hit by the hammer bro.
Yeah, that bullet absolutely hit me there, and then wake up into the hammer bro swing. So good on Key for managing that wave better.
Museus messing up this puzzle a bit as well, having to do it the second time around, but gets it there. Key, notice, does do this last wave a little different. He stays on this wide ledge because he has mentioned he does not like fighting the second hammer bro on the narrow bridge as the optimal strats dictate. It's a very minor difference, doesn't lose too much time, and it makes the last wave a lot more comfy. You're not spookily rolling around on that narrow bridge, as we might see Museus doing here in the third wave. Yeah, and he also opts to use fireballs, by the way, to break the shield of the last hammer bro while he's waiting for the second one. So it is, all in all, a little slower.
But as you can see from just the close quarters here, it is a fair bit safer, as
he's not only going for the narrow bridge strat, he's going up to the corner, which in my mind is the spookiest one. I personally prefer to go for the second hammer bro on the right, down right, and fight it on that narrow bridge. Going up right to the hammer bro there really traps you in that corner. You don't have much maneuverability. We did see Museus get hit there once, so all those hits cost time, but like you said, there is a lot of run to go, a lot of late game. Key starting off with arrows here. I don't know if that was a mistake, not recognizing which wave or thinking that we are in Ava 1, because that's how we start Ava 1. And that happens surprisingly often. It's not uncommon. I land in an Avarice. It looks the exact same as any other Avarice, and I'm like, which wave is supposed to be?
But Key making it through to the fun spider wave with only a single hit of damage for that, so not ultimately too bad, especially if you can avoid taking more damage to these spiders going into wave 3.
Last wave just needs to get all the deflects here. And I think he was scared for a second of that poison stunning him, because that can happen.
1 HP, careful. Also, looking at when the text pops up on both screens, Key's about 40 seconds ahead of Museus at this point. Not something that is unmanageable, but certainly a much bigger time gap than we have seen so far in this race.
Museus having a bit of time with the grunts. Do like to just pummel you. They don't really stop. So you have to either stagger them or just get away.
Yeah, both runners having a bit of a time here in Ava 2.
Museus going for something interesting on the green mage there. I was gonna say this last wave could be a section where Museus could have made up time, but did also lose some time. Key now going for all 3 soul orbs. That's one more thing to note. Both runners may not be super comfortable with the movement through here. Mana, just maintaining your mana through this section is kind of complicated when you need to get all 3 soul orbs. Keeping an eye on that and making sure that you have it. The most important thing is getting here, so Ki gets here. After this, you do have the totem pole and the lamppost to get mana.
And if you find yourself completely spent when you have to light those braziers, then you are in big trouble because you have to, I believe, walk to the lamppost and walk all the way back.
Yep, there's really no better way there because if you don't crunk the lever to unlock the elevator that brings you up, and the elevator is slow anyway, so.
That is going to be strength for, honestly, a bit of a pain point for newer runners as well. As you notice, Ki has 7 soul left after that. So managing your soul count, this is where it all comes to a head. If you haven't managed your soul count well, you can find yourself just a little bit short for that strength 4 pickup.
Actually, it looks like both our runners are set here. Museus, I believe, has 9 left over as well, but it does show you the fine margins. That one doesn't work, Museus. It's only this one. He did try. It is weird. Not all the lampposts give you mana back. It's only a few of the ones which allow you to hookshot to them as well. But not all of those either, so it's a weird rule if you don't really know why they work that way. Bit of a movement section here through starting to say, look, Museus picking up that seed does make sense. He was short earlier.
Yeah.
Does not want to be short again.
Especially don't want to run out of health too suddenly in Castle Lockstone and beyond. Lockstone is relatively safe. You have a fair number of save quits in that. But then Watchtowers happens. Oh, Watchtowers.
Yep, definitely. After Lockstone, things can get hairy in all the boss approach gauntlets, I guess, and they definitely want to have enough seeds going into Watchtowers and Flooded. Furnace, you do get a seed if you really want it at the beginning, and you normally don't need more than that one, but I believe it'll be a lesson that at least Museus will have learned to keep an eye on your seeds and make sure you don't run out in a bad spot. It's definitely been a hard lesson. I believe all of the runners have been facing, getting prepared for this tournament.
Yeah, how you adjust for how hot you're playing and what your personal pain points are. You definitely never want to be caught empty-handed, because dying is very slow, it turns out.
Really is.
So Castle Lockstone is the famous diagram strat home. Looks like Ki not going for the most insane diagrams in that puzzle.
He thought about it for a second, because to start off you need to duck on the other side of the laser. He did almost do it, but then backed off last second. But really not a big deal. That one, like you said, is the most scary and saves the least amount of time. So least bang for your buck, just leave it out of your race rep, I would say.
Those things always go together. It's the really, really scary, heinous strats that save like 0.8.
Very clean arena from Ki. We'll be able to walk out to Crow 2. No need for a save and quit. Museus likewise going for standard safe strats.
Makes total sense in a race setting.
Museus going to the Hammer Bro first. Interesting adaptation. I haven't seen many runners do this. These runners choose to take out the mage because you want to get rid of the teleporting RNG object first, I guess. That's kind of the rationale.
And also the mage just covers a much wider area with its attack. So it looks like the gap between the runners has shortened a little bit. We'll check here as the door lights up. Yeah, Museus made up about 10 seconds, it looks like, of the formerly 40-second deficit. So still got a ways to catch up, but starting to make good on that. Now we enter Bomb Strats Arena on Key's screen.
Good. Definitely good adaptation there. Switching over to kill the mage in the middle. Did leave the hammer bro for a second, and I refused to walk over to him, so it was unfortunate there, but very, very, very minor time loss in that. Clean arena.
When there are so many things that can go wrong, if you're slow on the uptick with some of those spell casts and the mages get away from you in particular, it is so much more time. So having to waddle over for a little bit, by no means the worst thing. You see it there. Mage slips out from under Museus. Fortunately, teleports right into him.
Good spawns there, saved that wave for him to some extent. Let's see how this one goes. Again, fortunate mage spawn to not have it show up in the middle of the empty floating space there. That's kind of the worst spot. Quick work. Nothing too big or bad there. Both runners will be relatively pleased. Diagram strats here, I believe. Yep, the new Crow 3 puzzle strats. That one is very...
He was practicing that in the moments leading up to this run, so very glad to see him get it there.
Do love to see it. Fairly comfy for those for whom that trick is new. I do recommend try it out. It is quite doable, basically, and it saves a lot of time. You don't have to walk around. It doesn't feel bad, because the previous strat where you have to walk around all the way to the top left just felt bad. It's too much walking. Don't like walking in this community. Very anti-exercise slogan there, but yeah, we do want to say...
You have a giant bow and arrow. It's safe to be.
There.
Yeah, Museus gets it cleanly as well. Love to see it.
He had a very clean arena as well, just missed like maybe 1 or 2 hits to make it optimal, like perfect, but really those are fine, like really not things you care about in a race. Just kind of want to get through as fast as you can and move on, not think too hard.
Yeah, one of the other things you start to see at, this very high level of gameplay is you start to see just the mentality thing. I know, Shresh, you had mentioned earlier that one of the scariest things about racing Vareem is, on top of his skill, his consistency. But you start to see that just at any high level of play, where mistakes do not cascade near as much as they do for newer runners or for runners learning how to play the game, where you see someone drop a puzzle, drop an input, have a fight go wrong, and you can see real time the recentering and the getting back on the good strats path to keep you in the race. And that's always one of my favorite things about watching races of this or any other speed game.
Very true, and this has been so far a very high level showing. All the things that we've been picking apart have been so nitpicky, and that's kind of what will end up separating these runners, are these small things, because in the big things, both runners extremely seasoned, extremely technically gifted, and well practiced, so not expecting to see huge mistakes from either of them. We are looking for these small things to separate them. That's kind of how it's played out so far.
Yeah, the biggest single time difference between our racers as we cross into the major phase change, right? We're heading into Avarice 3 and then from there into the bosses. The biggest time difference between the runners has been a single save and quit on low health, so shout outs to both of our runners.
Neither runner got the swag strat in that first wave where you do deflect the blue mage's projectile to kill them while simultaneously hitting the backpack. So neither runner able to get closer or further there. Museus again leaving the green mage. He does like to use the green mage. He has mentioned to bomb the other enemies and help with that, but I wonder if it's worth it compared to the teleport time loss that you take there. it does kind of waste like half a second where you're waiting for the mage to show up. It doesn't show up perfectly on time, so it's hard to say. Probably something to time. I'm not sure if Museus has timed it and has already concluded that it's better. But nice to see these small differences in expression with this game.
And speaking of expression, we saw it briefly on Key's screen. We'll see it in just a moment on Museus. This is your stretch reminder for the run, as the Crow does some calisthenics going into AVA 3. Check in with yourself, see what you need. Looked like Key entered AVA 3 at about 47:04, so we will see where the time gap is in just a minute after Museus gets through this getting eaten cutscene. And Key having a pretty clean AVA 3, it looks like.
Really clean so far. And Smo, I believe, works for both racers, does not give either of them issues.
Yeah. Just...
So.
For those of you not in the know, stick to his left butt cheek, and he dies. Basically 1-to-1. So it looked like our gap widened back to about 40 seconds between the runners on the AVA 3 entry. We'll see if Museus can pull some of that time loss back in AVA 3. But honestly, Keys looked very, very clean.
Yeah, really nothing to criticize in Key's arena so much. In this wave, you can kind of try to kill the mages early like Museus did there, so I take that back. He might actually be able to save some time here just based off that. And of a clean remaining section here. This wave is pretty straightforward, just kind of slash. By the way, Key died, oh no. Thankfully, you do see Smo behave. It is a frame rate dependent thing, and Museus was having issues because he did have VSync on for a long time. Thankfully, it looks like he has turned it off and was able to kill Smo. We might see, for some strange reason, Museus decide to emulate Key and also die here. It seems to be a fever that has struck the community as of the last few days, dying after Everest 3. Jokes aside, it is a deliberate death warp. It saves on the order of 8 to 10 seconds over walking all the way back to Castle Lockstone. One of those small things which we've known about for the longest time, it apparently at some point was considered a glitch, and before NMG it was glitchless, and hence this particular death warp was not allowed. And by the time we became NMG, I guess we didn't realize we could do it.
Yeah, the history of NMG versus glitchless is fascinating. The other big offender in that regard is shooting through walls in Lockstone. So really this split has just sort of seen the most in terms of most tech added when glitchless became NMG.
It really has. Interesting to see Museus walks through the shortcut into the first brazier room here. Not seen anyone really do that, but it does look faster, so something I'm immediately going to adopt.
I was going to ask, does that save time? I don't think I've ever seen that before. So Museus, once again, slow rolling his own skill and practice at the game.
Love to see that happen. Key on gate skip. Gets it first try.
Clean.
Everything has been clean so far, so just this puzzle to go.
More diagram strats to finish us off here. Yeah, the geometry that you're rolling onto with gate skip can be a little bit finicky, so that's by no means an easy trick. I'm hoping we see Museus get it in one as well to celebrate our winner's quarters here.
Museus going for the instant diagonal from top of the elevator, top of the ladder rather, and does save time. Very clean to get that. Let's see how it deals with this. You can kind of almost roll on top of this platform as well. Minor, small, very small time saves. Museus hookshots the switch immediately, so he has one less mana going in here. He really needs to get this puzzle correct and the fire.
Ooh.
Oof. As I say that, there was a little bit of inaccuracy there. Meant to switch to arrows, looks like. or maybe he did mean to hookshot all the way through with an eye on the mana situation.
Yeah, that's going to be on the order of, what, 10 seconds? So, not super bad, but we are now getting late enough into the run that Museus is going to have to dig deep in order to push that time loss back into his favor for the ending. Not to say it can't be done. We do still have all of Watchtower's Flooded Fortress and Grey Crow in front of us, but like we said at the beginning, you cannot be depending on your opponent to mess up at this level of race.
Oh no, and Museus having a couple of bad rolls here. Sometimes it does happen again where you kind of skip a room mentally. You think you're going into the next room, but you're actually going to the room before that. You kind of have skipped one room in your head. And it's especially bad when the room you actually walk into has a precipice right in front of you. You just roll off it. And
There's
roll off it.
always one room like that in every game. Just like roll into spikes or roll off a cliff right at the start of the room if you're not paying attention.
Lockstone is notorious for those, so I guess happy, I guess, at that point, because he had taken a couple of hits in the split, not having the best time in these latter two braziers. He just had smooth sailing, so building up the separation.
Yeah, it could be on the order of a minute even by now. We'll check as Key heads up the elevator. And check on this load and then see where Museus is, because this is a very sort of passive section. Alright, yeah, so 53-19 enter Watchtowers from Key. Watchtowers. Ice skating can be a bit of a bully in this moment, especially going for all of the hook shots on all of these various enemies to try and propel you just to shave off individual seconds from this segment of the run, to say nothing of the combat on ice.
A little bit of a hiccup, but Key gets through it. The main thing is no hits taken. That's all that you're looking for in these early sections of this gauntlet. Key does get the early strat, but looks like he wasn't prepared for it. But, if you hookshot that halberd early, it will jump up, and there's the fast strat for that as well. Some runners do prefer it. Notably Museus, I imagine, will be doing that strat deliberately. He was the one who did introduce it to us fairly recently, so let's see how that goes.
Museus is sort of the quintessential lab monster for this and other games, and Key you see here going for lasers. Wow, those looked like they were 3 overlapping things for a minute there. And yeah, Museus almost 50 seconds behind entering Watchtowers, so short of a Key death or major misplay, Museus has to go for broke, go for basically perfection in order to make up this time differential this late into the run.
Yep, like you said, to some extent it may be dependent on Key to allow Museus back into this game. He is at 2 health. It's not taking the heal here and is going to go into ice skating section. Here we see Museus with the fast strat with the jump. Gets hit the one time. I guess you want to roll away at that exact point, but not a big deal at that situation. Get through it fast. Lasers working out nicely for Museus there. He has left this archer here on the right side.
Yeah, I realized it goes back. Oh, and Key.
Yeah, it fell off, so this is now spooky. This section is the spookiest part of ice skating, so getting down to 1 health before that is unfortunate.
Yeah, mages on ice is, wow, yeah, bold.
Oh.
Going for all those hook shots. I died there, 100%.
That grunt being that close to the icicles is also the worst thing that you can have happen to you there, because that grunt is the most aggressive one. And if it spots you too early, it can jump you. Did jump Key, but Key was able to recognize and roll away.
Alright, taking the seed, so not going to take the safety crunk to open up the path back. Also didn't take the open path back earlier. But Ice Arena, I don't think this is anyone's favorite.
I think one upper casserole might disagree a little bit, but that is he does seem to be in the minority. I personally don't mind it, but yeah, it has killed enough of my runs that it's not my friend anymore. If a key going for TFT strats to start with gets it fairly clean, that's kind of what you want to do on the second wave. It does seem to be faster than anything else that we have currently. Museus, meanwhile, also making his way through pretty cleanly. He's on 3 health, so he has a choice of whether to heal or not. He's switching to bombs preemptively here, just going safe, doing some damage while approaching the Hammer Bro.
Very clean final wave there, yeah. Anything that can keep you from spending too much time skating around those Hammer Bros because their attack throw AI gets a lot muddier to follow if you both are on ice, so I really like the bomb strats there.
Very clever. Key not healing, going in with the 3 health for Betty. Museus also did not heal, by the way, so he's at 3 health here. Neither runner's super comfy. Museus also has an extra mage still alive from the previous wave. Always have to beware of the projectiles. Museus has been going for some non-standard strats in pretty much every wave here. The positioning at the start of the wave has been different from what we normally see. So again, just going for something different here. Again, going on the left side of the Hammer Bro to do more damage. Key is at 2 health.
Gets Betty cleanly. Yeah, Betty probably the single biggest differential, in my opinion, between knowing and not knowing speed strats. Because if you know how to sneak in the roll slashes between her attacks and you're able to skip roll phase entirely, then Betty is a very quick and mostly consistent fight. Shoutouts to the Vareem World Record a couple records ago that had a Betty death in it. Museus scaring all of us, but able to finish out Ice Arena there. I assume, yeah, we take the save quit.
No one, I believe, will be confident enough to go into that fight with just 1 health. Sometimes I have seen people go in with the 2, but always margin for error there. And in a race, that margin, you want to reduce the variability there. So worth taking the risk, the save quit.
Yeah. So we're going to see Museus with the same strats. Remarkably consistent insofar as Betty can be consistent, although rolling a little bit oddly there. As
we say it.
Yep. And this could be where the rust starts to not pay off. Yeah. Has not successfully roll skipped. So just gonna wait out the rolls. Yeah, 2 HP, you play it safe there, although
in some awkward positions, it's unfortunate. The first deliberate death, I guess, of the race so far. It really can happen. That's the thing with Betty strats. If you get them right and you get locked in, all well and good. But if you get thrown off your rhythm, it does take some skill and like some patience, zen to some extent, to be able to get back into it.
And you know, casual Betty is an absolute nightmare. Speedrun improvised Betty is just about doing your absolute best to not have to play the fight casually.
And there we do see one of the problems with dying once in Betty. The fight the second time gets riskier. It just starts differently. You don't get locked into the optimal damage pattern immediately because Betty will always jump twice the second time around. So you need to kind of play around that. And Museus doing a good job just getting through it at that point. But it was a bunch of time loss, getting 2 roll phases, dying in one of the fights. At this point, the race is a lot more separated.
Yeah, I think at this point, we essentially need to see like a late stage Fortress or very late stage Furnace. Maybe not even Furnace, because Furnace is much better interconnected than Flood Fortress is. But a very late stage death, or perhaps a late stage Gauntlet death from Key to bring this back. We'll check on the times as Museus enters Flooded Fortress here. Key entering at about an hour flat 30 seconds.
Yeah, I believe that
Shout
many
outs to-
times. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say shoutouts to the world's best Lord mug. If we ever get merch widespread in the community, that's got my nomination.
Yeah, shoutouts to the event you mentioned before. Maybe some of the questions can be very pressing questions about merch. And it is at the forefront of all our minds. We want the plushies of the protagonist. They are cute.
Very.
Will we see waterside or we see landside gate skip from Key? Misses once, just goes for the lever.
Perfectly reasonable. I don't know. I've seen Key in chat. I don't know how attuned they are to the other runner's pace. But Key probably has a safety margin here for a lot of these strats. Yeah, Key taking the door there. Love to see that.
In this race situation, we haven't seen a runner yet skip the door. I believe the only time we'll really see that is if a runner is on crazy PB pace, or if in the case of Vareem or TFT or any of the runners who are contending for record, if they're on literal world record pace. Key does hit that switch there. It's very cool to see that he just weaves that arrow shot in there to open that shortcut back. Allows him to skip, doing boomer skip if he does die here.
Yep. And so coming into Flooded Fortress, Museus is about 2 minutes behind. So yeah, we're looking, in order to keep this first race tight, you're looking for a late Fortress or a Gauntlet death, essentially, from Key. And as I open my mouth again, Key's starting to get a little bit harassed in this Mage Hookant section.
It is a little bit of a bullet hell here for a few minutes while the mages are around, and in the beginning, especially when the archers are pelting at you as well, and there's a boomerang.
Uh-oh. Mage Hookant, please. Alright, there we go from Key.
Third try. It always can go slightly off there. Not a big deal.
Yeah, it is still something I would term a finicky skip. It is just ridiculously consistent in comparison to the original Mage Hook skip, which of course relied on flying, teleporting enemy RNG on top of your execution, which no one loves as a speedrunner.
Museus does get the gate skip. Key is in the second wave of this arena. We've mentioned it a bunch before in these races. It is kind of an auto-scroller arena in that the spawns are staggered, so you can kill the enemies, especially the latter parts of these waves, on spawn, and basically optimize the time for this arena. You really can't do it faster because the enemies don't spawn faster. And Key, just a textbook showcase what you want to do in that arena. Kills both waves off on spawn at the last spawn. So that's the ideal fortress end there. Be pretty confident going into Frog King here. Museus going for the lead strats, gets the instant boomer skip, does save some time. This bomb is going to hit him, just eats that damage and goes through. Knew he was very well aware that was going to hit him, just went with it because that was the best position, and he's trying to make up time here. We will see probably Museus take more risks at this point.
Yeah, at this point you gotta. And Kipoints for the clean Frog King phase 1.
Nice juggles.
Alright, Mage Hookant is a good place for Museus to make up a little bit of time if he can get this in 1 or 2 tries. Gets
First
it in
try.
1.
Has 2 mages following him. A little bit of complication in this arena to keep an eye out for, but it's not something you won't be used to. Missing some damage there. Key is meanwhile getting all the damage on Frog King that he really wants.
Yeah, very clean Frog King.
Let's see if he's able to clean it up on this side. It's kind of really what you want. Nice.
Nice. Yeah, very good Frog King management. Just about getting the fast juggles in the first phase, and then just sitting on the edges of the arena, piling on the damage, in particular standing on the railing on the top side, while Frog King is doing his spitting attack.
Ooh, Key for a second hovered over the quit to desktop. But
Don't want that.
yeah, who would do that? SMH. But Museus going in with 3 health. I was going to question whether he will take the save quit, but again, just going to play risky, go fast as he can.
But has also made up a fair bit of time for that risk, entering the Frog King fight about a minute behind, or a minute and a half behind.
Love to see it. Keeping it close. There is a lot that can vary in all of these splits. Just a bad fight can mean you lose upwards of 10, 15 seconds. A sequence of bad fights, a bad furnace just compounds. You can lose a minute right there. And then it's anyone's game going into the last series of splits. So let's see how this goes.
And Key is taking the safety seed there in Furnace, like you predicted maybe an hour ago. Yeah, it's still very much anyone's game. It's just that Museus has to work a fair bit harder to earn his keep here as we enter the final set of splits in the run. And this, on Key's screen, is maybe my favorite strat in the speed run. Does dunk there, but getting that bull cart out and then hookshotting to it just looks so silly, and I love it.
Museus not getting the instant kill because he fell off right at the end. Looks like he actually didn't... Oh, just about missing out because I was going to say he didn't have enough damage. Frog King still didn't die from the 2 fireballs. Looks like he needed 3. So a little bit of time loss, having to wait for the Frog King to jump up and taking a dunk himself. So I guess we're somewhat back to even. Then as Key is heading into Furnace, he has the 3 health. I imagine he's just going to run with it. There's not so much risk in Furnace that even if you're in the lead, you want to protect your lead, you may still feel safe, and Key at his level definitely does feel that safety. So Furnace, all about cycles.
Yep.
This first cycle, probably one of the harder ones to get. Key does miss it, and it is really like one of the harder ones to get, and the ones which have the minimum time loss to miss it.
Yeah, going for the very spicy angle on that fire pit there. There was recently a diagram posted in the Death Star Discord of like the range of angles you can possibly hit that fire pit from, and they all look completely unbelievable to the untrained non-speedrunner eye.
Oh, Key falling into the void.
That is a dunk I have not often seen.
Not very often at all. You do see it in glitch runs because they arc across that gap, but not here. Not really a thing you want to see. Museus, by the way, getting the swag strats perfectly as you would expect. He did once again come up with those, I believe. If I'm not mistaken on that. So these are somewhat older strats in the community, and Museus has been the creator of many of them.
You merely adopted the swag strats. I was born to them, molded by them.
It is very true. Swag is very important to both runners, to be honest. They have made their opinion on swag very clear. Swag
As
greater
always,
than speed.
it helps when your swag strats, incidentally, are optimal as well.
Oof. Key for a second. Looks like he could have been pushed off there, but making it through. Going for this fast cycle by the hookshot, and does get it very clean. Yeah, those who noticed that, you can hookshot the slimes to get through on that cycle, to get through 3 pistons. Normally you can only get through 2 at a time. He will be having some nightmares of this room. Took a death here in his last race with some really bad luck. So just getting through that is all that he was looking for. Museus also missing the light. So both runners trying to do some brazier lighting. He not going for fast lights on any of them, just playing it safe and getting through it.
Yeah, especially on 2 health, needing to... That room is very feast or famine, because if you whiff and run out of pips, it's a long walk back to top up your mana.
And the optimal strat for topping it up is actually to drop off there, and on 2 health, that's not a place you want to be. If you drop off the elevator, the walkway, then you do spawn at the front, but it is scary on 2 health. Key hasn't taken any heals since the beginning, pretty much. Didn't get any fast cycles in this room again, so it's not his fastest, but at this point, just needs to see the run through. By the way, Key, in previous runs at least, has been listening in on commentary. He's made it known to us that he has been listening in on commentary, so he might be more aware of the situation of the race than we might think, and might hence be just okay kind of getting through this race. It knows that it's not gone perfectly, but he knows that he's ahead, and that's kind of all that he needs. But playing from that mindset can also be taxing, because you are kind of limping through a run rather than really focusing on speed, so can go both ways. Let's see how Grandma treats him.
Yeah, and Grandma... certainly a less scary fight than the other two. It is just about how you optimally pile on damage. As Museus, coming up on the last few cycle rooms of Furnace here, making pretty good time through them. We'll check on the time gap at when Museus makes it to my personal favorite text box in the game.
Not going for fast cycles, Museus either. Meanwhile, Key, notice, had a pretty clean fight. Had to back off a little at the end, just to play it safe, not take any hits to Grandma's Nova attack from slamming her head into a pot. But gets through it fairly cleanly. Museus missing the first fast cycle here. We'll be able to get the second one, looks like. And most importantly, has retained all his health, so we'll be able to go into Grandma directly. No need for any heals, no need for any save quits.
It's still looking like it's going to be on the order of 90 seconds behind, so all eyes on Key's Grey Crow.
Very bully fight. We do have a long section of tech smashing for Key before that. So it's nice. We will have staggered fights again. We can look at them one at a time. Starting with Museus' Grandma fight here.
Yep, so at the best text box in the game, shoutouts to Museus for writing on English, we are about a minute and 20 seconds behind on Museus' loadless timer. So, Grey Crow and Gauntlet, two things that can easily out a minute and 20 seconds if you are not careful. But those are sort of the points left in the run. It's Grey Crow, Gauntlet, Lord of Doors.
They suddenly take a couple of hits, but has a lot of damage, similar to Key. 1 health here. Let's see if he can get the kill before she starts hopping. Now he has to back off a little. Normally would like to do some damage here, but backs off. Does some nice hook shots in there.
Yeah, I love that hook shotting around. Taking advantage of the invisibility that Hookshot provides. It's not that wide. You do want to get out of dodge pretty quickly, but able to pile on the last little bit of damage that he needs to finish the Grandma fight as Kipoints gets waved at. Shoutouts to the little jazz hands.
Very deliberately adorable death character there.
The characterization in this game is just so good.
Yeah, honestly, one of the best death characterizations, and there are many good ones of that, so definitely one of my favorites. Even though they appear for very little of this game, definitely steal your heart. in that little amount of time. Let's see if Museus does this new hook shot here. It is slightly new, so not everyone does it. Yeah, he does not.
Looks like Key going to be starting the fight just as Museus enters the cutscene set. So, excellent stagger. Very considerate runners.
Really nice of them. Grey Crow, be kind to our runners, because Grey Crow is one of the highest skill and most technical fights in the game, I would say, for speedrunning. You can back off and play it very safe, but if you want to play it fast, it is a very demanding fight. Kind of need to play aggressive. Key is showing the ideal way to do that. Keep close, avoid the attacks, but stay close enough that you can actually keep piling on the damage. Charged parries all over. Really lovely.
Yeah, those charged deflects basically right in Grey Crow's face are the hallmark of a learned fight, and wow, very clean
quick.
Grey Crow from Key, and remembers to get the save quit at the end of the fight. Unlike most bosses, you can save quit as soon as Grey Crow is marked dead. It saves a little bit of time, but the joke is that if you've made it through Grey Crow on a good pace, no one remembers that save quit because it's like, holy crap, I made it through Grey Crow. So very, very active play on Key's part.
He is zooming. I think he feels it in his bones that this is a good pace. It is a very good pace, and most importantly, that was a really, really good Grey Crow fight. And getting that sort of Grey Crow fight can really up the momentum going into Lord of Doors. So you love to see this happen. And yeah, we'll be looking to see how Key ends up. I believe he's like a bunch ahead of PB right now, if I'm not mistaken. His Grey Crow time.
Cool.
Yeah, his Grey Crow time in PB was 1:17:43, which is later than the current timer as well. So he's definitely a bunch ahead of PB.
All right, all eyes on Key. Let's go. Race PB of maybe more than 0.03 this time.
You're looking for a clean gauntlet. We're seeing gauntlet start as the Grey Crow fight starts on the other side, so not perfectly staggered. Come on, runners, but perfectly in sync. We will be seeing these fights going on.
Yeah.
Museus instantly hit. I have a feeling this is one of those fights where Grey Crow is bully, because he's gone through a few phases without getting too much damage in. As much as he would have wanted.
And this is where Museus' discussion about Rust earlier, yeah, could come back to very much haunt us. Oh, the ads. Gonna be tight.
Unfortunate when you get hit. You roll preemptively, but a crow spawned kind of in that direction, which you don't see with perspective. Gonna have to play it very scary, very spooky. Key notice does not go for the first door, but Museus meanwhile gets through the fight. Does remember the save and quit ultimately.
Yeah, takes a second to get to the save and quit, but still counts. Still playing with full brain in the game.
Oh, Key miscounted. His hit was off by 1, I believe, and went for the instant door early. Also took a hit in the process. Loses a few seconds there.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where if Key were to die now, that would be the evening it up. Also, certainly the forfeit of the PB, so stay awake versus these doorbulls.
Has to play consistent. Gauntlet is one which the runners have practiced enough. Key going for the heavy strats here on this one. Did go for those on the first one as well, but bailed out early. This one, good execution. Gets the fast cycle before the Lord of Doors does the click to start their laser attack. We'll be going for Betty roll skip here. Let's see if he's able to get it. This is the one where the heavy strats really matter the most. In the other arenas, they really don't matter. Has 1 hit to start off, so we'll need an extra hit at the end here. Not going to get it. That hit from Lord of Doors just kind of precludes Betty roll skip. He's also short a hit still, yeah, miscounting there as well. So losing a few seconds here, I imagine. But but let's see how it compares to PB. The times to look out for. Let's see. Actually, I don't have it at the end of his splits.
Yeah, as Museus entering the gauntlet, just shy of 2 whole minutes behind. So with Key getting through the gauntlet, I'm not going to open my mouth and say never. But this is very much Key's race to lose here in Game 1.
He is about 50 seconds ahead of PB. He could get the... he's looking for the 121. It looks, I would say, very, very tight. Close to unlikely, I would say, but it's going to be a low 22 at worst, as long as he doesn't die. But crazy pace. Could get the 21, actually, now that I'm looking at the time this fight is starting. 21 is still within reach, so that's what we have our eyes on here. And
Well, the question is, does Key go absolutely full out aggro in search of that 21, or are we just going to pocket the PB and the race dub?
It is a very good question. Gets hit to start off, so he's going a little bit gung-ho. Gets hit again, going really gung-ho. I think the 21 is very apparent in his mind. It has been for a long time. He's going probably a bit too aggressive. 1 HP. Lord of Doors is not showing many cracks yet, so this is a bad place to be. He's going to have to play it slow, which kind of will make it even harder to get the 21 at this point.
Yeah, I appreciate the fighting for it, but let's see. Alright, not going for any of the crazy invincibility frame strats on 1. I do appreciate that.
Just wants to get through now. He knows that 21 is forfeit. It's more of getting the race win. You don't want to die here and give Museus a time to creep back in. Big PB regard.
GG Key.
That's a 43-second PB from Key's 122.56 prior to this. That's
what a
really
way
good
to send a message in Game 1 of a best-of-3 race.
Museus attempted to go for roll skip, but also missed it. He will be heading into Lord of Doors, or rather this last section, with 2 health. But crazy run from Key, big GG's. He will take the race win at this point. Museus has passed his timer, so the race win is Key's officially. But Museus is also probably going to PB at this pace, just about. Museus PB is a 123.56, I believe, or 51 from a long time ago. I tried looking for those splits, but obviously in run posting, they really don't exist from that long ago. So at this point, we're just keeping track of Museus' times from his video. But yeah, he's just about on pace with his PB gauntlet time. Just about possible for him to PB as well. It's going to be very tight.
Do we see full aggro for the PB?
It is very tight. Again, both runners keeping it very close to those minute barriers. Museus can barely get the 23, I believe, and if he goes really fast, can get the PB. But let's see how this all plays out. 51 seconds is the time to look out for here, folks. 123.51, the magic number.
Oh, yeah.
Quick breakout of that stun. Misses one of the heavies. Baits out some of the backhands here, going for some early damage before Lord of Doors gets away.
Yeah, that right there on the stun attack is the mash of someone who is fully committed to the PV here.
It's very close. Oh, that roll slash, if it had hit, could have been the difference. But at this point, it does look like the PB is out. But crazy to see that Museus, a runner who hasn't really run this race very much, comes back in a race 7 seconds behind PB. You'll have to see it. Beautiful race from both runners.
Masterclass in Death's Door, and it's only Game 1.
And GG's. Okay, let's bring in the runners and ask how they're doing. Okay, the runners are in. How you guys feeling?
Hello.
Yeah, how you feeling after that PB?
Heart racing for sure. I knew that PB was coming sooner rather than later, so it feels good to finally just get it out.
GG's
Yeah.
key.
Thank you. I saw that upper had bopped me in his race, and I told him, I was like, I'm gonna come back, and I did. It's like 15 seconds ahead of him now.
Museus, how you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. I'm pretty close to PB, which
Yeah.
I was not quite expecting for
What was
today.
it, 7 seconds?
Yeah. So, added a kind of stupid death to Betty.
Mhm.
And now, hopefully next match, I'll be able to actually PB.
When everyone was saying that you were a minute and a half behind me, I was like a minute 15 ahead, and I was like, this is like a 40-second PB, and then I heard the Betty death, and I was like, ah, tragic. So, next race, we both get another PB, let's go.
Easy.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so we're gonna go into intermission. We'll be back. We'll be right back. Remember, you can go. Everyone go get some snacks or use the washroom break. We'll be right back.